Hello, everyone. Fountainhead is proud to sponsor Top Virtual Marketing Ideas presented by Michael Silver and Eric Scheikowitz, founders of Focus Partners. Our goals dovetail in that we seek to optimize the opportunity for our partners, for RIAs, financial advisors, and insurance agents. Fountainhead does this by allowing you to do what you do best while we focus on all aspects of investments. We are an outsourced CIO, Chief Investment Office. Focus Partners does this by providing practice management consulting in areas of thought leadership, business optimization, and sales strategy. With that, Michael and Eric, please provide us with some top virtual marketing ideas.
Thanks, Joe, and thanks everyone for joining us this afternoon, or if you're on a different time zone than the East Coast, good morning to you all. My name is Michael Silver. I'm joined by my partner, Eric Scheikowitz. And before we get into today's topic, as always, we appreciate the partnership with Fountainhead Asset Management. This is our first and what will hopefully become a series of value add and practice management webinars together. A brief background on Eric and myself. We're both former advisors, and 15 years ago, we launched Focus Partners with the goal being to help advisors, teams, and firms of all shapes and sizes run more efficient as well as growing practices. We coach and consult on a daily basis with people just getting started to practices and firms that run billions upon billions of dollars. So today's presentation is a very tactical one. It's called Top Virtual Marketing Ideas. And whether you're an RIA, a financial advisor, if you're on the insurance side of things, these ideas are all relevant. And please realize we have the word virtual in there. But as the world and as doors are reopening every day lately, realize the ideas can be in person, but there will always be a virtual component going forward. So with that, let's kick things off. So when you think about marketing as an advisor, right, there are only 3 reasons you go out and market yourselves, your firm, and your team on a regular basis. Number 1, acquisition. It's a $10 million producer that we've worked with for about 12 years now, who said, if you're not prospecting, you're dying. So there always needs to be an acquisition focus with your practice. That's one reason to market. The next is to go deeper with your existing clients. If you're just doing financial planning, or if you're just doing insurance, maybe it's time to introduce investments. Or if you're doing investments, maybe now it's time to introduce something else. The more products, services, and strategies your clients leverage you for, the deeper, stickier, and long-term those relationships are. Then finally, retention. You've worked so hard to build this practice, you want to make sure you keep these people for the long term. Okay, so those are the reasons you market. How about who you can market to? Only 3 groups, and if anyone comes up with another one, please let me know. But first off, you want to market to your existing clients. Like I said, go deeper with them, build retention and loyalty. Next, anyone who's not a client but fits the profile of someone you'd like to become a client or could be an introduction source are people you want to market to. So suspects, social contacts, prospects and referrals, these are non-clients. And then finally, trusted advisors and centers of influence. You typically know these as the big A's, accountants and attorneys, but anyone who's an influential connector has the inclination to introduce you to others, and the people they introduce fit your ideal client profile. Those are people you want to market to. So let's talk about the state of the world. And if we did this talk even 3 months ago, 6 months ago, a year ago, it would be scarier times with a lot of anxiety and everything was locked down. So realize that the world is reopening. Some of the major firms on Wall Street, especially in New York, you've heard about Morgan Stanley and Citi and JP Morgan, they're calling back their employees. But we all know and firmly believe, and some of you are doing this still, is that working remotely will always be a fact of life going forward in some capacity. But the point I'd like to make is I don't care, nor do others, if you're working from home, if you're in your office, or if we have one advisor who said she was chasing sunsets. She was in the Hamptons last summer, spent the fall in Miami and the wintertime in LA. So chasing sunsets, renting Airbnbs. So home office or someplace else, there's always someone to talk to. There's always someone to have a conversation with, whether phone or video. So we can't use an excuse, well, I'm not in the office, I can't get as much done. You absolutely can. And the other thought is, if markets are up, down, or sideways, it doesn't matter. There is always money in motion. A lot of advisors say, oh, everyone's happy because the markets have been so strong. Well, guess what? The markets have been great every single day. Eric, myself, and our team of coaches see slugs of money, large events, large liquidity events, or people not happy with their current advisory relationship, whatever it might be, where there's money in motion. So the point here is the world has changed. Even though we're getting somewhat back to normalcy, there will be changes. So you need to embrace that change, be proactive, and make things work however you can. Eric?
Thank you, Michael, and good afternoon, everybody. So you have to first and foremost focus on a process. The goal at the end of the day here is to collect eyeballs, and you want to get these people through a funnel. And in the pure marketing world, they actually call this a sales funnel, because the idea is you want to put a lot of people on the top of the funnel, and you shake that funnel by doing different things over the course of time, different drips, different events, different touches and tactics. And hopefully what comes out the bottom of that funnel are going to be clients. So your goal is to really have a process where you get people in the top of the funnel, those are your eyeballs, and we transition them from suspect to prospect to ultimate clienthood. So to do this, because all the marketing in the world and the events and whatnot means nothing if you don't have people to actually do it with and for. So that's really what we're kind of focusing on first and foremost here, the front end. So first you have to focus on data. You have to focus on the fact that information and profiling and data and knowing your client or prospect or COI is no longer an option. The more specific, the better. The cartoon here I think is great because it really drives the point home. It's what you want to say versus what they're interested in. And somewhere in the middle is what we call the relevance. And that's what you need to focus on. It's all about relevance and relevancy. It's not about you. It's not about what interests you. It's about what's interesting and of interest to the client, to the prospect, to the COI. It's what's important to them. It's about their life. It's about their story. So this is the time to get really specific. The more specific, the better. You want to get personal. The more information you gather, the more data you have, the more targeted and relevant you can be with the different events, marketing, and drips that you want to send out. I mean, it's great to send something out on hypothetically retirement income planning, but if somebody's not interested in that particular topic, what's the point? So you want to really be doing, collecting this information so you can get very targeted with the information, the drips, and the things that you're doing to ultimately get in front of people and win them over from suspect to prospect to clienthood. You want to focus on constant contact, not the mail service out there, but you want to keep your idea flow in front of your world and in front of the eyeballs that you're collecting. So you want to build your email distribution list. You want to create, buckets, if you will. And again, the more specific and relevant, the better. A lot of the teams and firms that I work with will have lists, not just for prospects and clients, but we'll have prospects and what they're interested in. Who are the people that like golf? Who are the people that are into tennis? Who are the business owners? Who are the doctors, the lawyers? It doesn't matter. The more buckets you can create, and again, the more specific and targeted you can get, the better. So you want to build your list. You want to be tactical and topical with your ideas. One of the teams I work with says, they have a great quote. They say, we don't play baseball, so we're not just touching base. Meaning that when they're reaching out to people or they're, doing touches to clients and prospects, they have a topical and something tactical. It doesn't have to be a sales idea, but they have an idea of what they're going to be talking about when they make that call. Even if it's just a, hey, how's it going? How was your trip out to California? And you want to do this in an accelerated fashion. So what you see on the screen here is our kind of schematic, if you will, from day 7 out to day 63 of all the different things you could potentially do in an accelerated fashion, in an accelerated drip. And you want to make this your own. So hypothetically, maybe day 7, you're calling to see how they're holding up, maybe send an economic report or for a second opinion, invite them to a conference call that you're holding or a webinar that you're doing, see how their vacation was. People are starting to get out, take vacations again, all the way out to day 63, where maybe you invite them to a talk that you're doing on ESG, environmental and sustainable investing. But the point is, you want to do this in an accelerated fashion, because what you have to remember is the people that you're prospecting probably have a pre-existing relationship with somebody else. So your job at the end of the day is to plant seeds of doubt so they start to question the relationship with their current advisor. And you do that by touching them on a regular basis, sending things to them on a regular basis, and making it relevant and important to them. So you want to focus on constant contact. Next, you have to focus on perception, because perception ultimately becomes reality. What people perceive is going to be the reality. I love this cartoon, right? Guy on the islands, guy in a little boat, yay, I'm saved. The bittersweet meeting of perception and reality, right? Who's really saved at the end of the day? But you really have to focus on this, because you want people walking away with the right impression, and you want people walking away with the impression that you are the people they should be talking to and ultimately working with. So you want to create a magnetic presence online in whatever fashion you can do, and with whatever within whatever compliance guidelines need to be followed. But at the very least, website needs to be up to date, needs to be engaging, needs to be relevant and have content. LinkedIn, right, is a great tool that everybody should be using. It's not just for business card information, but you want to be posting your content here. You want to be linking to people that you think could be beneficial networkers, and whatever other approved social media you could be using. But at the end of the day, that's what people are going to. I mean, 99.99% of the time, when you meet somebody, chances are you're probably going back to your office and you're Googling them, right? For all we know, you might be Googling us right now. But the point is, that is going to be the reality. So whatever people see out there, you want it to be the right impression. So focus on that perception, because it ultimately becomes the reality. Next, you have to focus on a flywheel. And this is a continuous process, right? You know, call it the circle of life, if you will. But your whole premise and point here is that your clients are in the middle. And what you want to focus on, everything that we're talking about here and everything that Michael's going to be talking about in a few minutes, is to ultimately attract people, right? That's the eyeballs that we're getting in. And we're going to ultimately engage them, because we're going to be dripping on them. We're going to be sending out relevant emails. We're going to invite them to events, and we're going to do all these great things to engage these people, which will ultimately delight them. So, and then when they get delighted, they become clients. So we have this continuous flywheel. I call it the hamster wheel, where you're just over and over and over going through this process of attraction, engaging, delight, attract, engage, delight. And what happens over time is this becomes the engine which actually helps drive your business and helps drive the marketing. This is a very, very popular concept out there. It's used in a lot of service businesses, a lot of consumer, product businesses actually use the concept of the flywheel. So this is something that I think advisors and REAs should be engaging with and starting to harness within their own practices, because it just becomes something that becomes automatic. Attract, engage, delight, and it ultimately leads to clienthood. So all the content that you're talking about here and all the things that we're talking about go into the flywheel to ultimately delight people so they become clients. When you think about marketing, you have to think about three different types. And I call this multiple mediums and multiple modes. And it all kind of falls into the realm of what I call and what's called content marketing. So you want to be doing things in all three of these areas, right? So number one, we have the video marketing. And yes, there are a lot of advisors that do video out there, but video marketing could also be the webinars you want to be doing. It could be the virtual content that you're putting out there, but that's one leg of your quote unquote virtual marketing stool. Then you have LinkedIn, right? Which is the next piece of your puzzle. And you want to make sure that you're posting content there on a regular basis and that you're, putting things out there that are relevant. And then we have your email marketing and creating the different buckets that you have. So this way you're able to touch the right people at the right time with the right content. So when you're thinking about your marketing, think about using three legs of your marketing stool, or what I call the multiple mediums and multiple modes.
Great, thanks, Eric. So before Eric goes on to this next slide about focusing on leverage, I want to talk about a different type of leverage. What we do every day as coaches and consultants is work with advisory practices to get the house in order and free up capacity to leverage your time and focus on growth. So what I'd like to do now, and Eric and I just have a few quick questions for Joe Halpern. Joe, you're a managing partner, you're the CIO for Fountainhead Asset Management. If you would talk to us about what your firm does to really help advisors leverage their time, but from the CIO perspective and in the context of what we're talking about today, which is really that marketing conversation.
Thanks for the question, Michael.
Sure.
Something you said right in the first slide really resonated with me. And that is, if you're not prospecting, you are dying. I think you gave someone credit to someone else. You should probably keep that for yourself, by the way. You said, if you are not prospecting, you are dying. And then another comment you made right in the beginning was clients leverage you. And when you said you, you're obviously speaking about the advisor, right? And then when you think about that job of the advisor, right? If you're dying, if you're not prospecting, your job's really to prospect all the time and then to maintain that client. And then you have this pesky thing called investments. And investments are really, really complex, and they're becoming more and more complex. And then you have a regulatory aspect to it, a compliance aspect to it. We take all that on. We want the advisor, the agent, the RIA to leverage us to allow them to do what they do best, which is get in front of that client. And we take all that. So it's just taking all that time to ensure prospecting is done right and being able to turn it into a client. You really need to focus all your time on that. We take all the rest. We want you to do what you do best, and we'll take care of all investment related items.
That's great. All right, Joe, my turn here. So as this outsourced CIO, right, which I think is great, by the way, and every advisor should be leveraging that. What role can you play, and do you think you and the firm plays with helping advisors and their prospects?
Yeah, sure. So, right, that first stage, and you guys spoke a bit about it, Eric, I think it was one of your slides, where you had, I believe, 8 touches in the first 63 days, right? It was 8 touches, like every 7 days, touch on them. We provide 2 to 4 of those touches. We have in-house collateral, and our collateral is really set for the long term. What that means is we're not talking about, oh, the S&P was up 3% over the last 30 days. We're talking about themes and trends that will affect you 5, 10, 20 years down the road, maybe next generation, right? That's the way you really need to think when you're talking to clients, because they're not hiring you for the short term. They're hiring you for retirement. And if they're wealthy enough, they're hiring you for next generation, right? And then we have an investment dashboard that's really tailored to allow you to walk through with that prospect and really gather all the information and look at it in a very holistic way to understand how should we service this last client. And then finally, a transition plan. And that's just on the prospect side. I don't know if you wanted me to go into like on the client side, like what else we offer once you come there. But
it's funny, Joe, that's what I was thinking. Eric asked about prospects. I'm going to say, okay, now they've converted, right? They've said, yes, I want to be your client. I want to engage your firm, right? Your practice. What can you do once they become clients and are ongoing long-term clients? What role do you and your firm play?
Yeah, definitely. And once again, we want people to really leverage us. So we find the most successful advisors on our platform are the ones who are speaking to us all the time. We could set up a weekly Monday morning meeting to set up, okay, what's the prospects coming out? What's going on the next week? We love that because if you leverage us, you're going to get more assets, and that means we're going to manage more assets. And then from the standpoint of what that means, it's everything investment related. So some examples, on top of focused model portfolio offerings, we provide satellite opportunities. As you scale up in clients and you have higher and higher net worth clients, you want to take advantage of that liquidity premium. It's also providing other opportunities to get in front of your clients and say, hey, we have this product that doesn't really fit in maybe an ETF or a mutual fund or a single stock, but it's a really good exposure in the market that we think you should have. And ultimately, our goal is to provide opportunistic investing with diversification. We have all sorts of processes to allow for tax optimization. We have harvesting, opportunity zones, best practices around concentrated positions. I mean, this stuff gets really sophisticated, but again, we want to be able to help that end client on whatever investment related element it is. And then finally, and we kind of mentioned it with the prospects, we have unique monthly and quarterly commentaries, again, designed to really align with ultimate client objectives and get them to think long-term as clients of yours, and long-term just generally so they effectively manage what they're doing. And those are just examples. There's a lot more. I don't want to take away, your time of really providing these marketing tips, which are, I think the main reason people are on this call. But ultimately what our job is to allow them to leverage some of the great ideas you're providing them.
Terrific. Thank you, Joe. And so let's continue to focus on leverage then. So, the first thing that you want to be thinking about here, folks, is that other professionals are in the same boat as you are, right? Everybody's in the same boat. Not only are we in the same boat because we were all working remotely for the past year and a half and dealing, with COVID and everything that's, been along with it, but we're also in the same boat because everyone wants to grow. That CPA you're talking to, the attorney, they all want to grow. They all want new clients. And guess what? They're also in the same multi-generational situation as you are as well, because their clients are going to get older. That CPA who's not hooking into the next generation, he could lose that client too, just like we do and like we can. So we're all in the same boat, and you need to really hook into that. That's one of the main keys here. So you want to focus on professionals and people who are playing in the same space as you are. So if you work with business owners or divorce or transitions, you want to find those professionals, those COIs that are playing in that space, and think outside the box a little bit. So if you're focusing on business owners, for example, don't just think the big A's, accountants and attorneys. Think about other people that play in that space. Think about outsourced HR. Think about people that do payroll, that do bookkeeping, that buy and sell different businesses, business brokers, people that do small business benefit administration, right? All those people are playing in the same boat. So don't just focus on the big A's. And then you want to focus on joint marketing. Don't focus on referrals. Referrals will happen automatically if you build a relationship the right way. And you don't want to focus on the referral because you have to hope that that particular COI has somebody for you and vice versa. And that could be a crapshoot. So focus on joint marketing. Focus on what you could be doing together, saying, hey, look, we're all in the same boat. We're all looking to grow. Why don't we do some, joint marketing together? Let's do some joint education. Maybe we do some joint events for business owners, right? And we could bring in some intellectual capital and some great education to educate these business owners. We'll all have the opportunity to be in front of them. You can invite people. We can invite people. So you want to focus on joint marketing. Make it an ongoing thing, right? You want to become known as the people in whatever particular industry, whatever particular niche you're looking to work in. And again, the key is really adding value to the groups you're targeting, right? I just got off the phone with a big group that I work with out in Austin, Texas. And really the whole crux of the conversation was creating a group that was a safe space, right? We don't want to be prospecting this group. We don't want to be selling this group. We want to create a safe environment where we could add value to them. And over time, they're going to realize if something happens, if they have some event, they already got the power team right there that can help them out. So you really want to focus on leverage first and foremost. Michael?
Thanks, Eric. You talk about joint marketing with other centers of influence. I just had a team do a virtual event, and they called it Taxes, Trusts, and the Ticker. So obviously taxes was a CPA, was a panel, right? And each group brought people, but taxes, obviously self-explanatory. Trust was the estate attorney, and the ticker was a market update from the RIA firm. So that's pretty interesting.
That's great.
Right. So the next focus we call focus on giving. Okay. Remember, in everything you do, we want that wow factor, or what we call surprise and delight. So it's not about how much you spend, because most of the people you're probably buying these little gifts for, they have enough money. They've accumulated wealth. It's more about the relevancy, the thoughtfulness, and the creativity. Okay. You don't need to be face-to-face to make an impact. All right. And any type of life event that is going on in your clients' lives, we can expand that to be prospects as well as centers of influence. You can do something. Retirement, first-time grandchild, son or daughter going to college, divorce, retirement, sold the business, you name it. You could do something for them. Or sometimes you do what we call just because. Maybe there's no reason and you send your clients something. Like we had someone send out, not everyone likes every idea. We're just here to share best practices, but someone sent out phone chargers recently and said, get charged up for a great summer. Or last year they sent, portable chargers, get charged up for a great new year. Okay? But the ideas are endless. You could send a book for someone retiring and hop on Amazon, 100 great bucket list trips to take in retirement. Or there's a great website called goldbelly.com, which many of you know, that just as an example, I sent a client who's from New York but lives in Los Angeles. They love bagels, lox, and cream cheese from New York. I went on goldbelly.com, got them something from H&H Bagels, which is a popular New York place, sent it to LA through this website. You could do anything. Okay, it's not so much about the specific ideas, it's about taking action and surprising and delighting people in your world so they know you're thinking about them. Okay, focus on the one. So this slide and the next slide are about doing events. And remember, It can be virtual, it can be in person. That's up to you. I know that firms in general, the industry is limiting the group sizes. So just look at this from both lenses. So the idea here is focus on the one. Instead of trying to get a whole group or room full of people or a virtual Zoom room filled, pick one client and say, I would love to do something for you. One great example is I know how much you love cooking. And you've always told me about these 3 couples where you try all the great restaurants in town, right? As an example, what if I brought a chef to the house? Would you invite those same couples? I'd love to meet them. It's my treat. You just get everybody there. Let's have a great night. Or someone else did something for a book club. One wealthy widowed client who lived in Florida, always talked about her book club. The advisor said, why don't we do a Zoom together? I'll pay for the books. I'll read it. I'll participate in the conversation. These are ideas. Remember, you can have fun growing your business. So this idea is simply one to many. Think about which clients of yours you could put some type of event together, whether virtual or in person, and they quote fill the room for you. So next is focus on the many. Okay, this is a little bit more work. So this is where you're inviting a broader group. And ideally, we'd like you to not do just one event, but do a series. Just like our webinar today, we want to do a series of them for you to continue to add different types of ideas for your practices. So as first off, this is a little more work. Who do you invite? Well, obviously start with your clients. That's group number 1. Number 2, clients can be asked to bring friends. And you could joke around and say, hey, your admission ticket for dinner, bring a friend. Not only who will enjoy the evening, but might want to meet and see if we can help them the way we've done for you and your family all these years. So clients and their friends. Next group, invite your prospects. And then invite your key centers of influence and offer your centers of influence to bring some of their clients who might be interested. Again, virtual or in person. And don't do it just once. We've been an advisor once said, seminars don't work. So our first question was, how many seminars did you do? Well, I did one. I didn't get a good turnout. I'm not doing it again. Things take time. You have to practice and really fine tune how you're doing things. And then you really hit your stride. So do a series, food and finance, wine and wealth. Remember, like I said before, you can have fun growing your business. So if you're doing a wine and wealth series, and these are examples we see happen all the time and have helped, firms put together, you have a 20-minute wine tasting, and then you have a presentation on a different topic. And I've listed some topics here: planning, insurance, ESG, philanthropy. You can decide. The ideas are endless, but think about doing these types of things. Number 1, it's just good to get in front of people, whether in person or online. And it's a way to leverage your connectivity to get to the people in their world who ultimately could become clients. Next, focus on conferences. And I'm going to expand the word conferences to all different things here. And virtual is starting to be in person. I got an invite today to an industry networking group that we're a part of that's doing an in-person happy hour with different speakers in a few weeks. So you decide what you're comfortable doing. But if you can't go to certain things that you used to be involved in person, go virtually. I don't care what it is. The point is to get you out there and, quote, play in traffic once again. So if you're part of a networking group or want to join one, they're doing it virtually every day, every week, every month. Get involved in something in your community. Join a charity or something with your alumni association, or take a class. Anything that gets you in front of people and the type of people who could ultimately become clients or introduction sources to potential clients. And then the one thing I always want you to keep top of mind is, let's just say hypothetically, you're on a Zoom networking event, right? Look around that virtual room and pick a couple of people who seem interesting, or you like their personality or what they do for a living. Write those names down, look them up afterwards, reach out and try to take that group setting and now turn it into one-on-ones. Hey, we didn't get to formally speak, but you and I were both on the call the other day for XYZ group. Love to spend some time learning about your practice, tell you about what we do, see if there might be ways we could help each other and be resources. Be very transparent about it. But the point is, this is what your peers, your colleagues, as well as your competition are doing to continue to drive new business in a world that was shut down, now slightly reopening, and will kind of be that hybrid going forward. Next, focus on the ask. And we joke around, we put it right on the side. Yes, you've heard this before. This is about being proactive and asking for introductions. In our coaching with very seasoned, very large producers and firms, we still push them to put a Post-it note on their monitor that says ask, because they always say, yeah, you're right, Michael, you're right, Eric, I didn't ask, I should have. In general, your clients are very happy. I think that's fair to say. Markets have been strong. people's accounts are up. So how are you leveraging that, right? Right back to that word leverage. If a client at the end of a review says, Michael, thanks so much, just that, or you're the best, or what would I do without you, or wow, I didn't realize we're doing so well, or tough year last year, but man, I'm glad that's behind us. Anything positive that validates your good work and the value you provide, are you walking through that door? When a client says, you're the best, what would we do without you? You need to say, our pleasure. This is what we do every day and will continue to do for you and your family for generations. And I can't let you know how much we enjoy working with you also. And I just want to put it out there that if in your conversations with friends or family members or coworkers, kind of fill in the blank, if anyone has questions or concerns about the markets or may not be so happy with their current advisor, it would be our pleasure to help any way we can. If it's someone you care about, we're happy to help. So they open the door for you. The other scenario is they don't compliment you or validate you, and you know you've done a good job. You can try to draw it out of them. So at the end of the conversation, you say, Sam, Mary, I hope I answered all your questions. I just want to let you know, tough year last year, but I'm very happy with how the portfolio's weathered the storm. I like how we're positioned going forward, and I hope you agree. And they'll say, oh, yes, Michael, thank you. You've done great. We don't worry. We know we're in good hands with you. Now you push that door open, walk through it, and go right back to the same script. You have to be comfortable, say it in your own words, use it with your style and your personality. And the last point is know your audience. It's not for everybody, meaning the clients you're going to make this request of, but you have to put it out there and be proactive. So in summary, I'm not going to go through each of the ideas here, but the point of what we're talking about today is marketing and being proactive. Whatever marketing activities you employ, you have to do them consistently. Like my idea with the seminar. You can't try something once, say it didn't work, and not do it again. When you do things consistently, whatever it might be, it runs the whole spectrum when we talk about marketing as advisors. But when you do something consistently, it allows you to streamline the process of what you're doing and make it easier, right? Wash, rinse, repeat, to do it over and over again and fine tune and have more success. So the ultimate outcome of this little formula is when you do things consistently and you get better at it and streamline your process, the output of the outcome will be much more controllable and predictable results. Can't guarantee success, but we can absolutely have more success by working hard and doing things regularly. So before we hand it back to Joe to close it out and for any Q&A, just going to throw our contact information up on the slide here. We'd like to offer anyone on the call today, if you're interested, a complimentary coaching session. Eric, myself, and our team are available to you. If you like these ideas, take us up on our phone call. Randy Kent on our team will follow up with you. It's a chance to tell us about your business, any hurdles or opportunities you're facing. If you want to share best practices, ideas, get some ideas from us of what we see working in the industry, that would be our pleasure. So our information's up here. And with that, first off, thank you for your time today. Joe, we'll hand it back to you and see if there are any questions either for you or for us from the group. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Eric. That was just a great presentation, really informative. There is a Q&A box. I believe it's on the bottom for everyone. We have a couple questions that came in. If anybody has one, just shoot it over. So the first question, Michael and Eric, you guys could decide who takes this one. How do you work with advisors logistically to help them implement the ideas you've discussed today?
Right, good. I guess I'll go first, then Eric will take the other side of that question. Just to help them logistically, when I think logistically, the first thing that came to mind, Joe, when you said that was geographically. I mean, we do work literally all over the country, from Seattle to Florida to San Diego to Maine. So everything we do can be done just like today. We do phone calls, we do video chats. We normally travel very regularly, but through one-on-one coaching, that's where we roll up our sleeves, we lift up the hood, and we really will help advisors execute on the things they commit to. So sharing the best practices ideas per se is not coaching. But once someone says, Michael, Eric, I love that idea, I want to implement it for our firm or in my practice, then the coaching hat goes on and we get right down to business, help them map out the action plan, hold them accountable, continue with the idea flow, and that leads through, the logistics of execution. Eric, anything to add to that?
You're on mute, Eric. The beauty of virtual, right?
Yeah.
Yep, there we go. Sorry about that. So, I think, you hit it pretty much spot on. I think the biggest thing to kind of, understand about the way we operate is that, it's very customized. So, helping advisors implement the ideas presented today. Yeah, we could help you implement the ideas we presented today, but there may be things that you're doing that we're not thinking of, or there may be things that we have teams and firms doing in another geography that's different from yours that, we think could be apropos to your particular practice as well. So, I think, a lot of it really comes down to, like Michael said, right? Coming up with the idea is one thing, but it's really the rubber to the road. And that's where we're really gonna, kind of help you guys, drive it through.
Excellent, thank you for that. So we have two more questions that came in. One of them is actually for Fountainhead, and one's for you. I'm gonna go with ours first. I'll present the question and then answer it. So the question is whether we write our own commentary, and the follow-up on that is whether an advisor can take it and rebrand it for their own clients. And the answer is yes. We do write our own commentary. The commentary actually informs some of our positioning in the portfolio, because we really are looking at themes and secular themes and trends that take years to unfold, like productivity, like demographics, the whole bit. So spend a lot of time, think it's really strong, get a lot of good feedback on it. And part two is, yes, totally. White labeling is something you could do. You could either say powered by Fountainhead, or you could leave us totally off. White label, take it as your own. Whatever works for you works. So thank you for that question, and for that little marketing shot there. And then the question for you guys is, do you have any advice on how to handle compliance issues related to marketing outreach, LinkedIn, hosting seminars, creating content, etc.?
That's a good question. Here's my response, and I don't know if this is the best answer or whoever asked that question, so I apologize. We do not and cannot get involved in the compliance side of things. Our caveat is anything and everything you do, make sure it's compliance approved. Every firm, whether wirehouse, custodian, independent, whatever it might be, has compliance departments. I mean, my piece of advice would be just speak to your local or, corporate compliance departments and just find out what the parameters are of what you can and can't do. There's not much more I really can say about that. I wish I could, because compliance sometimes are business prevention units. They do sometimes make it difficult, but we do see more and more, especially in the RIA space, we see a lot more flexibility than as compared as, for example, to a wirehouse. So I would just ask the right questions and make sure you know what you're doing so there are no hiccups.
Yeah, I would say this, unfortunately, as there are as many compliance rules as there are firms and advisors out there on the street. So yeah, unfortunately, we try, with the content that we do and what we talk about to make it as, I would say, compliance agnostic as possible. So for example, when we're talking about LinkedIn, right, obviously we're not saying, hey, go out there and put testimonials out there, right? Because obviously that would be a compliance issue. But, at the end of the day, Michael's right. When in doubt, go to the compliance people, and, make sure that what you're doing is, within guidelines.
Actually, Eric, as you're talking, I just thought of one other idea. Leverage your asset management partners. So the big, whether it's SMA firms, mutual fund providers, ETF firms, annuities, whatever it is, a lot of them, if not most of them, have compliance approved collateral materials or seminar materials that they get approved at the highest level of each firm to make it easier for all of you. So I would tap into those resources also. Joe? And
tap into us, right? Leverage us. Everything we put out there is client approved. We make sure of it. In fact, they just updated, I know the FCC just totally revamped marketing rules. So I would actually recommend proactively reaching out to, whether it's a compliance consultant you use or your own compliance, to see what's now allowed, because they actually made it a little bit more lenient in some areas. But yeah, we put out a lot of content, and the whole concept of our, the whole idea of our content is to leverage us and use it. Those were all the questions we had. Michael and Eric, one more time, thank you so much. That was a great presentation. I know I learned a lot from it on my own. I'm not on the marketing side, so I don't know what I'll do with it. But at least just in terms of process, like even process, you guys spoke through it, and we try to be really process oriented. So it was really informative. Appreciate your time, and everybody who participated today. Thank you so much for participation or for participating. And that concludes our webinar. Thanks again.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.